In today's video, I will be discussing training and development as a function of human resource management. Training and development is a very elaborate process of any organization. Therefore, I will focus in this video only on what and why. When we talk about training, which is a process of competency building of employees in any organization, first issue we encounter is why organizations invest in training. When we talk about training cost as investment of any organization, for example, we see that company like PricewaterhouseCoopers invests around $10 million in developing digital skills of over 3,500 employees because of the past raise in revenue that was observed and captured by the company. Now, in such case, we see that investing in training is a better word because it helps you to achieve a higher target in the organization. The next issue that often comes up is training an answer to all sorts of problems felt by an organization? Now, let us in this video explore answers to these questions. So in this video, our learning objectives shall focus on defining training and development and explaining why they are important for any organizations, aligning the training and development functions with the organization strategy and the overall performance, both individual as well as the organization performance, and finally we will discuss the outcomes of any training and development process. So now let us find out what is training. So training it refers to, see, when we talk about training, we should be very clear we are talking about formal training. So training refers to a planned effort by any company which helps the employees to learn job related competencies. When I am making it specific job related competencies, it highlights the knowledge, skills and behaviors required to do a particular task that an individual is doing in its day-to-day activity. There is another word that comes up often is development. Is there any difference, or if there is a difference, then how they are different? Now let us see. Development is a process where an organization provides more learning opportunities to its employees, which helps them to grow in future. So we see development is more futuristic, and moreover it focuses on the long-term visions of the organization as well as the employees' career development opportunities in the organization. Whereas we just saw that training is very focused activity to improve the day-to-day performances of any individual. Now let us see, when we talk about training and development, we focus on building up the competency. Now competency has three main attributes. One is skill, which includes both technical and interpersonal skill of people in an organization. Then we come to developing attitude or training attitude. Attitude can be again looked into three types. One is cognitive, emotional and behavior. The cognitive attitude talks about building up opinion or belief of employee. Emotional attitude talks about the feelings part of an employee, and behavioral attitude talks about the intention, how an individual is going to behave during the work process. The third one is knowledge, which talks about developing an individual's ability to understand how, when and why of any work. Hence, this helps us to develop the competency of an employee. Now, let us focus on the various trends that are influencing the training process. Among the various trends, let us look at diversity. Diversity is nothing but having people with different competencies and abilities at workplace. In this case, I would like to take up an example where organizations like Microsoft, SAP, and HP are hiring people suffering from autism. Such people are very rigid and have an obsessive behavior. That means they are repetitive in their body movements. Such organizations are training these individuals, and this will give them a or help them to earn a livelihood. At the same time, the organization can have these people at their workplace and make use of their competencies and abilities of repetitive work. Second, let us look at globalization. Globalization has no doubt increased cross-cultural training or the necessity of training expatriates before they leave their parent or nation and start working in other nations. Now let us look at nature of work. When we talk of nature of work, the in past few years or in last decade, we have seen severe technological changes, and which has actually changed the nature of work. They are more high tech, more jobs in service, more jobs are e-based jobs, and there are more high performance work systems. So in other words, the jobs has been more redesigned and restructured in an organization. Similarly, if we look at the economic climate, this has increased mergers and acquisitions in past decade. This increase in mergers, acquisitions, or joint ventures has actually again increased the role of training and development. So the organizations and people or employees from both the organizations merging together can be brought into the same on the same platform at workplace. Similarly, when we talk about quality, it talks about continuous improvement. So most of the organizations who are highlighting on total quality management continuously provide training to their employees for improvement in their work. Second, or the next one is cost. When we talk about the organization's objective to go for low cost, they often use are focused on using such technology or training process which helps them to go for low cost products. Next, let us come to legal issues. Now this is an area in which training is given so that organizations can comply to the statutory norms of that particular land. And finally, the technology. When we look at the technology and AI, we see that most of the organizations, right in the beginning, I showed you an example of Price Waterhouse Coopers. Their training process was totally focused on developing digital skills of their employees. Hence, these are factors in the external environment as well as workplace create a necessity for training in the organization. Now let us look at how training is related to business strategy of an organization and its outcomes. Once an organization prepares its or formulates its business strategy based on the demands of external environment, the organization's builds up its HR strategy, which is aligned with the business strategy. In this process, if the organization's business strategy requires competency of people to be improved, to develop more synergy among the employees in the organization, or to create value among the employees, in all these three cases, an organization uses training and development as an important instrument to build its employees' competency, which influences the individual outcomes in terms of developing of new skills, knowledge, being innovative, or showing innovative behavior at work, being collaborative, developing their commitment. It often helps to retain employees or performers. It also contributes in developing organizational citizenship behavior. And these individual outcomes actually lead to organizational outcomes in terms of improving performance, which leads to financial results like profit, as well as provides a sustainable environment to the organization, which results in well-being of its employees through increase in productivity as well as developing a positive attitude. In this process, we focus on why will training improve everyone's performance. That means even if there is any productivity issue in an organization, is it necessary that training is the only solution available for that organization? In this case, let us quickly have a look on training and answer to all sorts of performance or productivity problems in an organization. Let us draw along x-axis motivation and along y-axis let us take job knowledge. This refers to the job knowledge and motivation of an employee. Further, when we divide it into grids, we see we have now 4 grids, where let us start with grid 1. In this case, the motivation level of an employee is low and the job knowledge is also low. So once you have an employee in your organization with low job knowledge as well as low motivation, it's a clear indication of poor selection process in the organization. Hence, we need to look at the process and methods employed during selection of an employee. Now let us move to the second grid, where we see that job knowledge is high but low, people have low motivation. Such a case is an example of extrinsic or intrinsic reward system. That means an organization with help of extrinsic or intrinsic laid out compensation performance management techniques can increase or improve the performance of such kind of employees. Here again we see we don't require training, right? And now let us look at this coordinate, the third one. Here we see that job knowledge of employees is high as well as the motivation is high. Now this must ring bell that why then such people are not able to perform. Normally in organizations it has been seen that such kind of employees, such kind of issues are basically with the system of the organization. That means there is no problem with the employee of the organization, neither is there any need to give training to these employees, but the organization needs to look at its systems, maybe some of the systems, subsystems, the process, the operation process or the technology has some issues which need to be addressed. Finally, let us look at this fourth quadrant, where we see the motivation of people is high whereas the job knowledge is low, and this is the place where actually training can help an organization to improve the skills and abilities of an employee to and by this the employee can contribute better towards the performance of an organization. Hence, through this 2 by 2 grade, which is based on the clear function of performance, which is a product of ability and effort, shows that an individual who has high motivation but has low job knowledge can be improved during the training process. And that is the reason why in class also I encourage students to build up a positive attitude, because during the interview session many times candidates who may be an average student are hired by a company because their motivation level or the attitudes which the company is looking for is very significant or helpful for the organization to perform. Let us look at another issue, that whether we should go for training of employees or should we go for hiring new employees. Now this also clears whether we should go for built approach or buy approach in an organization. This data clearly shows that 77% of HR people in an organization gave their opinion that organization should go towards training its employees rather than going for a hire or buy approach, which indicates that providing training to employee is more cost effective method as compared to going for hiring process. Now let us move to understanding how training improves the competency of employees. Now through training process, people can improve their knowledge skill. It helps in developing employer branding. That means the organization creates its brand value for employees, so that in later recruitment selection process, good performers or good competent employees apply for jobs in such organization. It helps to retain people, it reduces conflict, it helps to develop a synergistic environment in the organization. So this is how training and development provides a competitive advantage for an organization. But after the discussion, we can still see that organizations have issues with trainings, as we can see in this study, which clearly shows that only 25% of respondents agree that training improved the performance of the employees. One of the or few of the reasons I would say for training not found successful by people is because of poorly formulated objectives of training, or when there is poor clarity of purpose of training, the timing of training program and the content of training is not well planned out. In such cases, organizations normally feel that the training is not successful or it's not able to fulfill its objectives. So therefore, in our next video, I will focus on the various methodology issues in training so that the training can be made more effective and it can reach or give better outcomes to the organization. Thank you.